Welcome back, everyone, for another deep dive. This time we're looking at The Lady of Heaven, a film that tells the story of Lady Fatima, the daughter of the Prophet Muhammad,
Okay.
and it's told through the eyes of a young boy named Laith.
I see.
And it's a powerful film that kind of weaves together Laith's struggles in like war-torn Mosul with Fatima's life
Yeah.
centuries ago. So I'm really excited to kind of unpack all the historical and religious context with you today.
Yeah, I think what's really fascinating about the film is that it uses those parallels, between Laith and Fatima to highlight these themes of sanctuary,
Yeah.
and leadership and legacy.
Right.
And it's not just like a historical drama, it's really a reflection on faith and resilience in the face of like adversity.
Exactly. And the film doesn't waste any time getting right into the thick of things.
Right.
I mean, right away we see Laith and his mother desperately trying to escape Mosul, which is, under extremist control.
Yeah.
And it's a very heart-wrenching scene that immediately grabs your attention. What about that portrayal of this contemporary conflict?
Yeah.
What really struck you about it?
Well, I think the film's decision to place Laith's story in like modern day Mosul is really smart because it forces us to face, the reality of religious extremism and violence.
Mm.
It's not just something in the past. It's a reminder that history, often repeats itself
Right.
and that these issues still have a huge impact on people's lives today.
It really makes you think about the cyclical nature of conflict, doesn't it?
It does.
But even in the midst of all that chaos,
Oh.
there's this glimmer of hope.
Yeah.
Laith manages to escape, and he finds refuge with this woman who offers him shelter.
Yeah.
It's a really beautiful act of compassion that seems to echo those themes of sanctuary and protection we see in Fatima's story.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's where Medina as a sanctuary becomes super important.
Okay.
During the Prophet Muhammad's time, Medina welcomed Muslims and Jews and non-Muslims, offering them a place of peace and tolerance. It was truly a diverse and inclusive society, which is a stark contrast to the violence and division that we see in Laith's world.
Yeah, it's almost like the film is making this direct connection between the peace and tolerance of Medina in the past and the need for that same kind of sanctuary today.
Right.
And it's in this safe space that the woman starts to share the story of Lady Fatima with Laith.
Yeah.
So can you tell us a little bit more about who Fatima was and why her story is so important?
So Lady Fatima was the Prophet Muhammad's beloved daughter.
Okay,
And she played a really important role in the development of early Islam.
I see.
She was known for her piety, her intelligence, and her commitment to justice. Her story is a testament to the power of women, and her legacy continues to inspire Muslims around the world.
That's powerful. The film portrays her journey from Mecca to Medina
does.
and her marriage to Imam Ali and the many challenges that she faces. So I'm curious what aspects of her character really resonated with you the most.
Well, what really struck me was her strength and her courage. She wasn't just, a passive figure in history. She actively supported her husband, and she challenged injustice, and she served as a spiritual guide for Muslims.
Right.
Like during the Battle of Uhud, which is a pivotal moment in the film, she didn't shy away from danger at all. Instead, she stood by her father and her husband, tending to the wounded and offering words of encouragement. This battle also shows Imam Ali's amazing loyalty and military skill as he fought alongside the Prophet against the Meccan army.
Yeah, the Battle of Uhud is definitely a turning point in the film. It's got all that action and suspense, but it also reveals some deeper truths about like human nature. Because despite the Prophet's strategic commands and Imam Ali's, valiant efforts, the Muslims suffer a setback.
Right.
And it's due to the betrayal of some archers who are motivated by greed. So what do you think we can learn from this event, and how does it tie into the broader themes of the film?
Well, I think the betrayal at Uhud is this really shocking twist that shows just how complex human motivation can be. Even people within a community can fall prey to selfish desires. However, it's the Prophet Muhammad's response that is truly remarkable. Instead of, seeking revenge, he chose forgiveness, and he encouraged his followers to learn from their mistakes.
Yeah.
His resilience in the face of such adversity is truly inspiring.
Yeah, I was particularly struck by his emphasis on forgiveness. It made me think about how often we prioritize winning over understanding in our own conflicts.
Right.
It's such a powerful message, especially considering the ongoing sectarian violence that Laith is experiencing in Mosul.
Absolutely. The film isn't just about retelling historical events, it's inviting us to reflect on how these events resonate with contemporary issues.
Yeah.
It challenges us to think about how we respond to betrayal and adversity in our own lives and whether we choose forgiveness and understanding as the Prophet did.
It's a powerful message, and one that I think will stay with us as we delve deeper into Fatima's story and the legacy that she left behind. But before we do that, I think it's important to kind of understand the context of leadership within the Muslim community at that time.
Right. And this brings us to the event at Ghadir Khumm, a really crucial moment in Islamic history, which the film highlights.
Okay.
Yeah. At Ghadir Khumm, the Prophet Muhammad very publicly declares Imam Ali as his successor.
Okay.
And he really emphasizes that Ali is the one to lead the Muslim community after his death.
Gotcha.
And this declaration, it wasn't taken lightly. You know, this really set the stage for a super complex and often really controversial debate about leadership within the Muslim community that continues even today.
It sounds like a very pivotal event.
Yeah.
That created a real rift.
Yeah.
Did everyone accept Ali's leadership?
Well, a lot of people did accept Ali's leadership because of the Prophet's declaration, but
Okay.
others disagreed. And this disagreement, it wasn't just a personal thing.
Right.
You know, it reflected deeper questions about how leadership should be chosen in the Muslim community.
I see.
What qualities a leader should even have? And it shows that even when the Prophet Muhammad was alive, there are different interpretations of his teachings and visions for what should happen.
It's so interesting how they use this historical event to really highlight those challenges of leadership.
Yeah.
And the struggles over interpreting religious teachings makes you realize these debates are still relevant.
Oh, absolutely.
So did these divisions get even worse after the Prophet died?
Oh, yeah. The film does a great job of showing all the pressure and opposition that Ali and Fatima faced.
Right.
It wasn't just disputes about leadership either. There were also these big debates about how the Quran should be compiled.
Wow.
And economic problems made things even worse.
So much turmoil.
How did Fatima handle all of that?
She stayed strong in her belief that Ali was the rightful leader,
Okay.
and she didn't keep quiet about it. She spoke out against anyone who questioned her husband's authority.
She sounds incredible.
Yeah, she had such courage and commitment to justice.
It's amazing that she didn't just sit back.
And watch injustice happen. She actually fought for what she believed in.
Exactly, especially in a society where women's voices weren't often heard.
Right, that must have taken so much strength.
It's a powerful example of how one person, no matter who they are, can really make a difference.
You're right. Her courage, her faith, and her commitment to justice is still so inspiring. But the film doesn't shy away from the tragedy that happened to her.
Right. It shows the real consequences of these political and religious conflicts.
We're talking about the attack on her house.
Yeah, one of the hardest scenes to watch.
It was brutal.
It reminds us how devastating these conflicts can be and how innocent people get caught in the middle. The attack on her house caused her to lose her unborn child and left her with so many wounds.
Oh, wow.
It shows that the filmmakers really wanted to portray the truth of history, even when it's painful.
Even in the midst of all that pain, Fatima makes this really powerful last request.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about that?
In her final moments, she asks to be buried in secret. And that wasn't just a personal choice. It was a statement against everything she'd been through.
Interesting.
By choosing a secret burial, she was rejecting the people who hurt her and her family.
Wow.
She wouldn't give them the satisfaction of a public mourning period.
An act of defiance.
Exactly.
You think-
And in death.
It really emphasizes that even with so much loss and suffering, the human spirit is strong.
Yes.
Fatima's story is incredible, but how does the film tie her legacy back to what Laith is going through?
The film weaves those two stories together so well.
Okay.
While Laith is dealing with losing his mother and all the horrors in Mosul,
Right.
Fatima's story gives him hope.
Yeah.
It's like her strength goes beyond time and space. It helps him see his own struggles in a new way.
So the film suggests that by understanding history, especially the lives of those who went through similar things, can help us deal with today's challenges.
Exactly. By comparing Laith and Fatima,
Right.
the film makes us think about how these historical stories can offer guidance and inspiration.
That leads us to the scene with the child suicide bomber.
Yeah.
Can you describe it and explain its significance?
Yeah, it's such a heavy scene.
It really is.
You know, it's so tense and emotional because it shows us the reality of extremism and how they prey on young people.
Right.
But what really got to me was how Laith reacts.
Yeah.
He doesn't fight back or judge the boy.
Right.
He chooses compassion and understanding instead.
That's amazing.
Just like Fatima.
He could have just dismissed the boy,
Totally.
but he tries to connect with him. He even tells him about Lady Fatima and her message of peace.
Exactly.
Do you think that worked?
It's tough to know for sure,
Yeah.
but the scene itself is so important because it shows how powerful dialogue can be.
Right.
even when things seem impossible.
Even with those ideological differences.
There's always a chance for connection.
That really emphasizes the film's message of hope
Yeah,
and resilience,
absolutely.
despite all the tragedy and injustice. The Lady of Heaven shows that humans are capable of love and resilience,
It does.
and that we can always strive for a better future.
It's a powerful message, especially now with so much conflict in the world.
It's easy to feel overwhelmed by all the bad news,
It is.
but this film offers a different perspective.
For sure.
It reminds us that even small acts of courage and compassion matter,
Yes.
and we all have the power to choose understanding and peace.
Exactly.
As we wrap up our deep dive into The Lady of Heaven,
Yeah.
what are the key takeaways for you?
For me, one of the most important things is how the film explores sectarianism
Okay.
and the dangers of religious extremism, both in the past and today,
Right.
by making those connections between Fatima's time and now.
Right.
The film really makes us think about how these cycles of violence affect us.
But it's not just about blaming people, is it?
No, it's not.
It feels like the film also suggests a way forward,
Definitely.
a path towards healing.
Yeah. While it shows the damage from these conflicts, it also stresses the importance of tolerance, forgiveness, and fighting oppression.
Right.
It suggests that learning from stories like Fatima's can help us face modern challenges and create a more just and compassionate world.
Such a powerful message to end on.
It is.
That's a call to action, to use the past to guide us toward a better future.
Exactly.
So as we finish this deep dive, I want to leave you with a question.
Okay.
What part of Fatima's story resonated with you the most? And how can we use her legacy of courage, justice, and compassion
Right.
to face the challenges in our own lives and the world around us?
That's a great question.
Thanks so much for joining me for this deep dive into The Lady of Heaven.
It was my pleasure.